What is going on, everybody? We're here and we are live. And for some reason, Rumble was messed up. I think I fixed it while we were doing the intro. 30 seconds. That's all I need. 30 seconds. I can get anything done in 30 seconds. Well, maybe not anything. I don't know if I can microwave popcorn in 30 seconds. It takes a little bit longer than that. But I think it should be good as long as I remove it here and then add it back and then save the changes. Hopefully, we should be good to go. So now we should be going live over there on Rumble. Shout out to the Rumble peeps who are with me all the time. Before it was popular to go over to Rumble, before that, I was freaking there digging away, Rumble, grinding my little Rumble audience. We still got a couple people there. So doing okay. Laughing Man says Ryan Wanks in 30 seconds. To be honest, I wish that it only took 30 seconds to do that. That would save so much time out of my life, to be honest. Bro, if I could just crank one out that quick, I would have so much more time to make videos. No lies. No lies. But, you know, what are you going to do? Welcome. It's Sunday. We're here for the Sunday stream. Superman is at the box office. Fantastic Four coming down the line. Jurassic World Rebirth still out there. But Superman is the focus of everyone's conversation today. And as it probably should be, rebooting a franchise, a superhero that's been around for nearly 100 fucking years. A lot of big stakes at the box office. And an opening weekend that, despite so many people online telling you that it's the greatest movie ever and everybody's talking about it and everyone's going to see it again and again and again, the box office receipts are in. And although I don't think it's fair to be like, wow, it bombed, there are some very concerning things, especially internationally. When you have an opening that is under Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, you should absolutely be concerned. And if there's anyone that's looking at those numbers and not trying to make comparisons to comic book movies that have released over the past couple of years, including things like that, you're just like willing to ignore it. I don't know why. You really should, even though I think that will probably have a better hold than a movie like that. You have to talk about it. You have to bring up the fact that this is a movie that opened at $217 million worldwide in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which was a massive piece of shit, which only ended its run around, $460 million at the box office, opened at $225 million. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp compared to Superman. So yeah, we're going to dig into that a little bit. How there is it is contentious when it comes to this conversation online. I find myself in a strange situation. Oh, hold Geo versus the fridge. Is that your is that like your daily struggle because you're a fat fuck? You can cope and make excuses all you want, but it just made bank and demolish Man of Steel. Man, it's interesting. We're going to get into that. This movie opened significantly lower than Man of Steel without adjusting for inflation, actually. Not that that's the end all be all. Something can open lower than that. It can still have a great run and all those things. But it's funny because a lot of these places out there, a lot of these accounts, DCU hype, DCU brief, like they will repeat lie after lie after lie. And retarded people like Geo versus the fridge actually eat up those lies, which is why they tell those lies, because very dumb people will eat it up. Very dumb people will eat it up. So, but don't worry, Geo versus the fridge. You can go grab a snack, do whatever you want, stuff your fat fucking face, whatever you need to do. But hang around because we'll get into it. And I'll educate you. I'll educate you. And I'll get paid for it, which is great. But when it does come to the movie itself, it is contentious out there, as I think it should be in general for comic book characters as important as these. Like, DC characters, I do feel like it's a different vibe when it comes to DC characters and fans' protectiveness of those characters and fans' desire to see this interpretation or that interpretation. I feel like it's on a different level than Marvel slightly. And for me, I've always been more interested in DC comics and characters when I was growing up than I was in Marvel. Not that I hated Marvel or anything, but I was just always more interested in DC characters. But when it comes to these, it is often very contentious, and this is very contentious. I find myself in a strange position, and it's almost I wish that I felt more strongly about this movie one way or another. I don't really like it. I see why a lot of people had a lot of fun with it. For me, I didn't really have fun with it. I don't really like it. I would maybe give it, it's like just a shade under mid for me, like mid-low, like 4.5, somewhere around there, right? I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's horrendous. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't like it. And it feels like that vibe. Now, then you're just arguing with everybody. So I can't wait. Can't wait for that. Let's see what we got. Alex McCarthy, Super Maz, James Gunn, PC, Meta PC code RK Outpost. Hey, thank you, Alex, for the reminder. Yes, Meta PC code RK Outpost. Link in the description. Link in the description. NetStealer. Well, NetStealer, unfortunately, you can say that Friday, Saturday, Sunday did have an opening of 116.8 or 117 million. Unfortunately, because you need context and you need to understand that things with the box office have changed, let's not even adjust for inflation. Let's just consider that back in 2013, when they had just started doing Thursday previews, right? Because if I'm sure some of you guys remember going to midnight releases for movies. There used to not be such a thing as a Thursday preview, right? You had these midnight showings, midnight releases of these movies. Well, then they started doing these Thursday previews, maybe start at 10 o'clock, then 9, 8. And now it's to the point where Thursday is effectively an entire full day. Usually previews starting at 2 o'clock and a massive day. When they started doing those, they didn't count those towards opening weekend. They just randomly counted it as a day. So Superman's previews, then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is actually 128 million for Man of Steel in 2013. Superman's 122, 123. And that's including all its Thursday previews and its Tuesday previews. So yeah, we'll dig into it. We'll dig into it. And also globally, I need context globally if you're talking about these things, because globally, Man of Steel opened to around $200 million, but had a staggered international release. So it didn't release in half the countries, including most of the major countries in Europe, China, stuff like that, until a week or two later. So when you take those into consideration, it doesn't stack up to Man of Steel's opening in these countries either, which is which I do think is a problem long-term for the film. Especially when you have so much marketing, so much hype, and so many things like this behind it, because it has been everywhere. It has been talked about everywhere. We have seen ads for it forever. It has had as a huge marketing campaign. And now you're seeing a lot of the spin from Warner Brothers. You're seeing them come out trying to lower expectations. We don't need $700 million for this movie. We'd be happy with $500 million. We'd be thrilled. We'd celebrate. Oh, you know that budget that leaked that says we spent $363 million on this? That's a lie. Some intern must have filled that out wrong. We actually only spent $225 million. Oh, you know all those reports that came out about our Barbie level marketing and how the Warner Brothers executives told people it was going to be around a $200 million marketing push? Well, that's ridiculous. We only spent $100 million. Yeah, I mean, come on. What are you talking about? Like, you can see like the clear signs of damage control and trying to lower everyone's expectations. And as we pointed out, for, some of the people in this chat, retards will believe something like that. Retards will believe it, and they will spread the gospel. Luckily, we're here to put retards in their place. That's what we do. You're free to watch the channel. I encourage you to watch the channel. Helps me out with the algorithm, gives me more money. But also, maybe we can pull you back from that retardation cliff. We can make you stop being retarded and just to the point where you're just kind of a little dumb and gullible, right? If I could pull you back that much, then I've achieved something. No promises. It's probably not going to happen. See, look, Gary. Gary watches. Gary watches. That's right. And you know, a lot of it is very funny because we have seen obviously we've seen Disney consistently for their superhero movies specifically lie about a lot of their budgets, right? And it doesn't come out till a year or two later when the official tax documents get released, and it's like, hey, you guys said this was a $200 million movie, but you actually spent $375 million on Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. There's a disconnect there, right? We've seen it happen with Warner Brothers, with this fucking leadership group at Warner Brothers, with The Flash. Remember when they told it and came and remember when they told us what the budget for The Flash was? And then, the receipts come out and it turns out it was one of the most expensive movies they've ever made. So the idea that the very same people who are critical of Disney and critical of Warner Brothers for those movies, when they do those things, are now trying to excuse away and be like, oh, look, well, Variety told me that it's only $100 million. Well, I guess that must just be true. It's a massive success. That's weird. It's weird energy. Even if I like a movie, I try to be as transparent as possible about the financial ramifications, right? Even if I like a movie, say like Mission Impossible. I like the last two Mission Impossibles. Maybe not as much as some of the previous iterations, but I like them. They're massive money losers because of the insane fucking budget. Spending $400 million on Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is insane and outlandish. And even though I like it, that's something that in every one of the videos I made talking about that movie, I had to say it. I had to be upfront with it, even if you like it. But I do think there's a lot of, wow, you said you. Here's the thing for me. I care very little what anyone else actually, like, their opinion of the movie is. If Gary likes the movie and I don't like the movie, we might have a little discussion about it, but I don't really fucking care. It doesn't bother me that he likes it. If I like something and somebody else hates it, we might have a little discussion if we're on a stream, but it doesn't bother me at all. There does seem to be a decent amount of people on either side of this Superman thing that it really fucking bothers them if somebody likes it or if somebody doesn't. But I do think there's a little bit of DC about that. Like, there's just, that is a DC thing. A DC thing. Where are we? Let's catch up with some of these. Aioli Freak for 10. I can't wait for the you versus Jeremy Superman daily. It's like you take everything into consideration debate-wise, but he just bulldozes through your carefully constructed arguments. Yeah, I don't know how much of it's going to be a me versus Jeremy. Jeremy, look, I don't really like the movie, like I said. And you guys can check my review out. I did like a 20-minute review of this movie. It's on the channel, so you guys can check it out. I have a lot of criticisms for it. I don't really like it. 4.5. Like, it'd be kind of somewhere in my score. Jeremy despises it. He fucking hates this thing. So I don't know if it's going to be so much of a versus, but we are going to talk about the movie because for the first couple days that it was out, we didn't want to spoil it. You know, we didn't want Tuesday early previews, Thursday early previews. We didn't want to sit there and spoil it for people that were waiting to watch it for the weekend. But we will go into some full spoiler discussions on Geeks and Gamers Daily on Monday. But you are correct. That is how Jeremy argues. Net Stealer, after a day to think, leaving hundreds of innocent people to rot in prison in a pocket universe is not Superman. It's more stupid, man. Very unheroic of him. I think that if he's at the point where he's at, where he like is legitimately fucking done. He's been exposed as kryptonite energy. He like gets that little burst. He's basically fucking done. I think it's acceptable for him to leave it, like try to find and then try to rescue those people. I don't necessarily have a massive problem with that specific aspect. Justin Mabin for £5. F1 movie topping 9th grossing. Hold on. F1 movie topping 9th grossing film so far, could easily finish higher than Captain Black America. F1's probably going to approach that $500 million mark. So probably will finish higher than Captain America Black Brave New World. Sullivan Felix, Tom on Flashcast says budget around 180 million. I can't say I watched Flashcast, but look, that would be shocking, considering they're not even telling us that that's what the budget is. Considering they're telling us that it's 225, it would be shocking if it was 180 million. And look, when we're talking about the massive budget of this movie, it is not based on rumors. It is not based on some made-up thing, some person whispering sources, this and that have been wrong a million times over and over again. The initial Superman budget number that we got was from an officially filed tax document. So if you don't understand how this works, there's some states, there's some countries, there's some stuff like that, like where if you film there, right? If you film in Ohio, there might be tax benefits for you. It's an incentive to get you to come and film in Ohio to give jobs to those people. Same thing with the UK, same thing with certain other states, like all that shit. Well, you need to file paperwork, you need to file tax documents and say how much you're spending in Ohio, how much you plan to spend in Ohio, what the total expenditure on the entire project is, all of this stuff. And in the Columbia Business Journal, not some fucking scooper's Patreon or whatever, not some whispering, oh, my source. The Columbus Business Journal had access to all of these officially filed documents with the state. And they were like, hey, look, Superman filming is going to bring tens of millions of dollars to Ohio because of this and that. And on that officially filled out, signed, sealed, delivered tax document filled out by Warner Brothers for Superman, the budget for Superman was $363 million. It just was. Now, by taking advantage of these tax incentives and by getting, 10% off what you spent here and 10% off what you spent here and 10% off what you spent here in this country, like stuff like that, you can 100% bring that number down. We see that in the UK all the time. Hey, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness spent like nearly $400 million in the UK on that project with tax benefits, with the tax breaks they received for filming there. That got the net budget down close to like the $350 million range. It's not getting it down to 225. And it's certainly not getting it down to 180. And if it actually was 180, why wouldn't they then say that instead of 225? To me, it's much more likely it's in that 300 million range, right around there. I don't think it's actually 363. I think with the incentives and tax breaks, in all likelihood, it's probably right around 300. But even if we take them at their word, which is 225, I mean, come on. This movie needs to make a lot of fucking money. The newest thing, right? Despite the fact that basically every big summer blockbuster over the past several years has spent $150 million on marketing, right? The newest thing that's out there from Warner Brothers is the updated marketing, despite the fact that just a few months ago, we were told that they were spending close to $200 million on marketing, a Barbie level marketing campaign that could surge up to $200 million. Suddenly that number only spent $100 million on marketing. Like what a fucking cope. So like when you start to take all these things, even if you take them at their word with these revised numbers, you're still talking about $325 million invested in this project. It's more. We know it's more, but let's take them at their word. You're still looking at something that needs to be in that $650 million range just to break even. And like I said, that's taking them at their word when this squad has lied to us over and over again. Over and over and over again. And you can tell again, despite some of the fucking dumb people who are like, it's gonna hit $1 billion. It's a $1 billion movie. It's gonna hit $1 billion. Right? Despite some of those people, the people that were like invited to the premiere, those types of folks, when you started to see James Gunn come out and talk about, oh, the idea that it needs to get to $700 million, that's crazy. That's nuts. Of course it doesn't. And then like Warner Brothers, like, we'll be really happy if we get to 500 million. That is exactly, it's literally exactly the same shit that we criticize and we have criticized Disney for over the past, couple years, including this year, when Captain America Brave New World, which we know is not a budget of $180 million. We know all the fucking work that went into that. We know about the reshoots. We know that thing ballooned to well over $300 million. And then they come out and be like, well, 180 million. And it only needs to make about 450 to break even. Yet somehow that, well, that's ridiculous. That can't happen. Like, we know the truth there, but if it's different for Warner Brothers, what are we doing? Same people. All right, let me catch up with some of these. And since we're talking Superman heavy, we'll get into the Superman stuff. We'll go through some comparisons because I think it's important. I think for even the people that don't like that, you see a number of $217 million global opening and you think that is the best thing in the world and amazing. And look at all these people who said it was going to be weak or something. It beat Man of Steel. We're going to go over it and maybe keep an open mind, and we'll get some comparisons between some things that have recently come out, some things that came out 12 years ago, and we'll talk about it. But let me catch up on some of these super chats. Little Orphan Funkhauser for 2. Ryan is like Switzerland in these Superman debates. A little bit. CJ for 10. Felt like a Filoni project. Toss in a lot of meaningless cameos, CGI fights, dumb jokes, and hope that people shut off their brains and seal clap for it. Well, thank you, CJ. There was a lot of stuff thrown in there in 2 hours. A lot of stuff thrown in. And the reason I don't get caught up in how somebody else necessarily feels about the film, right? Different people in the space, people like the reason that I don't get too caught up in that is because everyone is going to have their own opinion. It is what it is, but it's also based on your expectation level going in and what your thoughts are for this. For instance, if I was just like looking at this from a purely, hey, I'm a robot that's grading this on a out of 10 scale, like for story and direction and effects and like whatever. There's a chance that I think Superman is probably a slightly better movie than Jurassic World Rebirth. But I enjoyed Jurassic World Rebirth a lot more because my expectations at this point, 7 times in going into a Jurassic World movie, are incredibly fucking low. Whereas my expectations going into a comic book movie, specifically a comic book movie about DC characters and characters that I care about and I've read stories about and things like that, my expectations for it are more and higher than, well, there was a lot of stuff going on and I had fun. Like, but that's all going to depend on who the person is and what your expectation to go in to see something is. Which is why I don't really get hung up on somebody that doesn't like it. This person like this person doesn't like it. And I don't necessarily think any of you should either. I don't think there's anyone that's watching this channel or that watches my review and says, well, Ryan said this, so obviously then this. I'm just one person, and it's just my opinion based on my expectations. So I just, it's strange when people get really caught up in what every other person's like subjective opinion is about something. Now, I will say when it comes to numbers wise, that is a different story. Numbers are numbers. Adrian Robinson for 5. Snyderverse did better. Chances of Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 or 3, Man of Steel 2 airs director's cut. 66% of Gunn's Superman was under 35. Snyder could capture the older demo. Well, one, I think I think they probably want to get a younger audience in, so they're probably okay with that. I think, look, as much as it doesn't matter how much you like those movies, I think that the idea of like restoring the Snyderverse at this point in time, this far removed, is never going to happen. And I say that as somebody who obviously is, and I've said it multiple times, I really like Man of Steel. I really like the direction for some of these characters in there. And I would have loved to see that play out, but it's in the past. You know, Zack Snyder's Justice League being released was a huge thing for a fandom to push to get that made. These guys, like Ben Affleck doesn't want to come back and play Batman. By the time that would get put into the works, these characters would all be really old. It's not reasonable. It's just not reasonable to expect that at all. There's no chance of it happening. Now, David Ayer's cut, maybe some point down the road, randomly released on streaming, possibly. Eric Stratton, hey Gary, I got your book. Was not going to get it signed. Then I remembered you were dreading all the signings, so I added that out of spite. Oh, there you go, Eric. There you go. Where are we here? Roland the Wretched. Seems like Superman James Gunn is the most divisive thing since Lincoln freed the slaves. Too soon? Also, with you on cereal, if you want fruit in your cereal, buy Raisin Bran or some shit. Chopping fruit defeats the purpose. Yeah, I'm not a add fruit to my cereal guy. It's never been me. It's never been me. Chris Coran for 20. I feel like the biggest problem with this movie is just too close. It is just too close to just leaving the Snyder DCU for comparing, and there's too many characters in this one. And go get your box from Beardo before preseason, damn it. You know what, Chris? I'm going to find a way to get it this week. This week, I'm going to get it. Thank you, Chris. Sola Felix for 2. I said 300 million. Tom asked where I got that number. Look, I don't want to be used as a proxy for you guys like fights with other like creators or whatever. Tom is free to have he obviously was like very excited about the movie and he really enjoyed the movie, and that's great. You know, it doesn't really bother me if somebody likes something that I necessarily don't like, or that I like something that someone don't. Now, if you're on a stream and you're having a discussion about something and you're talking about this and you're arguing about this, that's something you're expressing your viewpoints. But in terms of, I saw him catching some heat for something. I don't care if somebody likes this movie. There's a lot of people I know that like this movie. There's some people that I'm very close to that really like this movie, or at least like the movie. It's okay. Rob Valenti, what's up, man? For $20. The problem is, we debate why this movie is or isn't terrible when we should be talking about how great the movie is. James Gunn missed the mark. It was just fine. Wasn't even good. Definitely not great. Shout out to my man, Rob. Appreciate it, dude. Thanks. Yeah, it left me lacking, or left a lot on the table. It was lacking for me. It's underwhelming. I don't know if underwhelming because I wasn't going in expecting a lot. Whelming in like the worst way. All this horror business. If you watch Gotham season 1, Gordon is just Bud Crow's character in LA Confidential. It's uncanny. Gotham's wild. Jason Nelson, thoughts on Superman International opening the same as Captain America 4? Well, why don't we get to it? Why don't we get to that? Because this is like the thing that this is the thing. A lot of people are focused on the domestic number, and the domestic number is okay. Not impressive necessarily, but like avoiding some kind of catastrophic failure. It's opening okay. Internationally, it is a major, major problem. And we can get into why. Pop this shit up. Where are we here? I'm lost. Here it is. Boom. So, as I stated, when we started to hear Warner Brothers executives, we'll be so happy if this hits $500 million. Really? A Superman movie? A Superman movie that you spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, that's launching your new universe with all this hype, with all this pomp and circumstance, with all these interviews, with all this marketing. You'll be happy if it hits 500 million? Really? Because that would mean it loses a significant amount of money. But we'll be happy. This is called lowering expectations. David Zaslav coming out and saying, we're so excited about the launch of Superman, and this is only the beginning. We can't wait to see what more we have in play. What's the CEO of the company? He's not going to come out and tell you, well, this fucking sucked after the first weekend. It's the same energy that Bob Iger had after the first weekend of Thunderbolts, when he was like, Thunderbolts is a great reflection of how we're, the new focus at Marvel and how we're prioritizing quality, and we're really happy with the box office receipts. Well, Thunderbolts flops, right? Like, now, I don't think that this is that level. I don't think that this is a Captain America Brave New World or Thunderbolts level of flop for this movie, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But that's the type of spin I feel like we're seeing when it comes to this. But let's get it into the numbers. Superman powers to $217 million global opening. This is over on Deadline. And you have 123. I think Warner Brothers reported 122. Other people specifically went out and said, we think it's going to be slightly higher at 123 when it's all said and done. But that much is coming domestically, and about 95 million of that is then coming from internationally. That international split is a problem, and I want to show you some examples of why. Captain America Brave New World. Captain America Brave New World, right? Internationally, $92 million at launch. Okay? About $192 million global launch for Captain America Brave New World. Obviously, a massive disappointment, barely cracked $400 million for Marvel, huge loser, not very well received, all this stuff. A black replacement for Captain America in the fourth movie that nobody fucking wanted. 192 million globally. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. A movie that was a complete and total failure. a movie that only went on to make, $460 million at the box office in its worldwide run. This is an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. And it opened higher worldwide than Superman, than James Gunn's Superman. And you want to talk about what it made internationally, it was $106 million domestic, 3-day, and $121 million from the international box office. Right? So you're starting to see how big of a deal this international box office can play. What about The Batman? The Batman opened to about $250 million, right? Significantly higher than the 217 that Superman just launched to. I believe, let's see what that split was. That was 120-ish million. 120 million from the international box office, closer to 130 million domestically. This is one of the more interesting ones to look at, though, because this is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 opened to a okay domestic opening. 118 million, I believe, was that domestic opening for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was a little bit lower than people expected at that time. But obviously this movie, James Gunn movie, went on and had great legs, had a great hold at the box office, right? Went on to make, what, 850 million? But look at what it opened to globally. 289 million because $170 million internationally. The international numbers matter when it comes to these things. We pay a lot of attention to domestic, and rightly so, because we're in fucking America, baby. And a lot of people pay attention to the American box office. However, when it comes to these superhero movies needing to leg out, the international numbers are very important. And across the board, Superman is underperforming internationally in nearly every single aspect. Shazam, the first Shazam movie, opened better internationally than this movie. Opened to $100 million. I think 102. Shazam. So that's why these things are important, and that's why these comparisons are important. Right now, I think the biggest takeaway for this movie should be that Superman, despite all of the PR, despite all of the marketing, despite every person seemingly talking about this thing, including people that, got to go to the premiere, got to see it, like whatever, it opened less than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like, let that sit in your head for a second and think about that being a comparison. Now, I personally think that this movie is going to have a better hold than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think it'll play better with families. I think it'll have a longer run overall than this. But this should be, I feel like, one of the baselines when we're talking about these movies. A movie opening in the post-COVID era, all this shit. But one of the most egregious headlines that I continue to see time after time after time is this one, right? It's a bird, it's plain, it's a box office hit. Superman opening to 123 million. And in this article, they make a statement, something like, it's the highest grossing opening weekend for any Superman, first iteration of Superman ever, beating Man of Steel. And that gets repeated by DCU Superman News. The best opening for a Superman movie, ahead of Man of Steel. It's the best opening for a Superman first franchise installment, ahead of Man of Steel, and the second best opening for James Gunn. James Gunn's Superman reportedly opened to this, making the best opening weekend for any Superman first franchise film. The problem is that's not the case. I'm going to show you a headline from 12 years ago. It's not really that hard to find. Back when Scott Mendelson was still working at Forbes, ironically enough. Weekend box office, Man of Steel soars to $128 million debut. 128. Well, that's higher than 123. 128 million is higher than 123 million. So I don't understand. Why is this happening? Well, it's because things change at the box office. Sometimes people are stupid and don't take full things into account. For instance, the Thursday previews. Years ago, there used to be no Thursday showings. It used to be for big movies and stuff like that. There might be a midnight release. Midnight release, get in there, be one of the first people to see it. But then about, I would say 12, 13, 14 years ago, right around that time, I actually think that if I remember correctly, there were some people that said what happened at a theater during The Dark Knight was one of the reasons they decided to maybe consider doing Thursday previews, not everything so late at night, whatever. But they were like, you know what? Let's start doing some earlier showings on Thursday. Those started with Thursday previews at like 10 p.m. And then they shifted it to 9 p.m. and then 7 p.m. Nowadays, Thursday previews start at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on in every fucking theater. And sometimes, like with this Superman, you even have Tuesday previews. But back in the day, for some of these movies, they didn't count those Thursday preview numbers towards the weekend total. So if I go to Man of Steel back in 2013, And this is not adjusted for inflation. This is not anything like that. That's a different thing. And I think it's fair to talk about that. We're not even going to talk about adjusted for inflation. We're just talking about raw fucking numbers here. Okay? We're not going to talk about the fact that 3 to 4 million more people went to see Man of Steel than Superman because of the ticket prices. We're not even going to talk about that part. I just want to look at these numbers. And this is where you can see weekend box office performance. First weekend, 116 million. But the total gross is 128 million. That's weird. Why is that? Like I said, if we go to the dailies, you can see they didn't used to count these previews, the Thursday preview, in with the weekend number. That's something they started doing later. They do that now. But as you can see, 12 million added on to that $116 million weekend is 128 million. That's what Man of Steel opened to. Its weekend opening was 128 million. Superman, because it includes those Thursday previews and is including $3 million from Tuesday previews, right? That all gets lumped in. So when you look at a box office report, when you look at something like the numbers and you see this, it's important to note that this number gets reported on Thursday. It gets combined with the opening number right here. So really, this is like a $34 million pure Friday. It didn't make $56 million on just Friday. That's that number included. You can see because of the total gross. And then Saturday, Sunday, which comes out to 122. That's what Warner Brothers said, 122. The trades are saying 123. So this is the reason why I said 30 minutes ago when I was talking in the chat to the fat guy, something, whatever is life versus a fridge. Like, you really can't just repeat retarded things because then you look like a fucking retard. I can sit here and show you the numbers. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for Man of Steel, 128 million. Thursday, including the Tuesday preview numbers in this. So preview numbers for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 122 million. That is not talking about adjusted for inflation. That is not talking about ticket prices. That's not talking about any of this. This is just the fucking raw numbers. Okay? So no, these things are just flat out lies. Now, the global number, if you want to come after me with that and be like, well, it had a higher global opening than Man of Steel, you would be correct. But you probably wouldn't be completely accurate. So we can get into that too. Man of Steel sourced $200 million worldwide in first 4 days. Number one, June domestic opening of 128.7 million. International, 71.6. You might ask me the question, well, why are you then worried about Superman's international when it made 95 million? Well, there's a reason. And all you need is some context. Sometimes big movies like this launch everywhere all at once. All, 78 fucking countries, whatever it is that are eligible, all territories release all at once. That's basically what Superman is. Had a launch in virtually every single possible place at the same time on the same weekend. It's not always the case with some of these movies. And in fact, it wasn't the case with Man of Steel. If we look and we get into these internationally, Warner Brothers says Man of Steel ranked number one everywhere with a gross of 71.6 million from 9,710 screens in the 24 overseas markets in release. Well, what? Only 24. Which ones weren't there? Well, we can look at it. Here's some even more like independent data. So it's talking about some of the biggest launches in different places, right? Mexico, Korea, Philippines, India, Taiwan, UAE, Malaysia. The pick still has 27 more markets opening next weekend, including major countries, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Russia, and China. Australia opens June 27th. Brazil, July 12th. Japan, August 30th. It had a staggered release. So if you take the opening numbers for all of those, it adds up to well over 100 million. And I think somewhere probably in the 140 to 150 million range if it had opened all those places all at once. So this is why the context is important. And if you had come to me and said it beat its worldwide debut, I wouldn't have called you a fucking retard. I would have said maybe you don't have the full scope. You don't have the full scale. And I can explain it to you and help you not look so dumb. Wait, somebody spamming in the chat? Who's spamming? Is there a retard spamming? Where is he? Oh, this guy? Jonestown? Jonestown Kool-Aid? All right, you're in timeout. You're in timeout, buddy. No spammers. You can do anything else. You can call me basically every fucking name you want. I don't really care about that. In fact, it'll probably feed me. Just a timeout, little bud. So if the actual Friday number for Superman's James Gunn is, let's say, 40 mil, it's a 3-day opening domestic weekend of around only 106. Correct, Ryan? Yes. Yes, that's one way you can look at it. You know, Man of Steel 3-day would have been 116, a little higher than that, but 116-ish million. This one would have been, around 106, right around there, right around that point. Would have been less. Hello from Romania. Hello. Hello. But yes, that is a little bit of the, like, to me, what I think some of the context that needs to be looked at for this when we're talking about, is this, and look, I am not saying that this is a massive bomb. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I am saying is it should be concerning. It's not an impressive opening weekend. It's not. It's just not. No matter what way you spin it, with these global numbers included, there's no way. Because you can try to make those comparisons. Well, it opened higher than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 domestically, and that went on to make $850 million. Okay. It made that much money because of how well it opened around everywhere in the world, right? A nearly $300 million opening. Like, if this thing had legs, if this movie had legs similar to The Batman, which I think ended up with like a 2.75 multiplier, you're talking about a movie that will struggle to hit $600 million. And that's now ultimately that's kind of where I think. Remember, if you guys remember, I predicted about $130 million domestic opening, and I thought the film overall throughout its entire run would probably end up in the $700 million range. That's what I said. That's what my predictions were. Little bit off domestically. I think it might be way off with its final number. We're going to see how it holds and everything like that, and we'll pay attention to it over the next week. And it's got 1 week free without Fantastic Four competition. But like, honestly, I think this is now a movie where $600 million is kind of the question. Like, is it going to hit 600 million? Like, it might struggle to hit that with these types of numbers. But, you know, I said this before. I think that it is a more kid-friendly movie in terms of, I think families will have a good time with it and stuff like that. I know, ironic, James Gunn, kid-friendly. But it'll be a more kid-friendly movie, and that has the possibility to have better business over the week, a little bit stronger hold, stuff like that. But considering all of the hype, everybody knew this movie was coming out. This movie had like more trailer and social media impressions than like fucking anything in his, like in crazy numbers, right? Crazy numbers, huge social awareness for this movie. And it just kind of plops out there opening weekend. Not impressive. All right. Where are we? I'm lost. Masked crossover. Disney literally have Golden Goose like MC and Star Wars, but have no idea what to do with the gold they have. Same with Warner Brothers with DC. Maybe Harry Potter. We'll see. You know? Maybe Harry Potter. Oh shit, my Nullet fell off for 100 Argentinian. Ryan, Vitiate or Sidious? Which one is better in your humble opinion? I think that if you go by like all of the full lore, I think that Vitiate is like crazy in terms of his power level and stuff like that. In theory, Sidious, what he finished, what he accomplished, his power level, stuff like that. I should say Sidious, but to me, Vitiate lived a long fucking time, bro. The correct answer would be Sidious, but speaking of Star Wars expanded universe stuff, and this will probably apply to very, very few people in this stream, but a lot of people know. Maybe you've been around for a long time. I was a big fan of the Star Wars expanded universe before Disney bought them and, decanonized everything, turned it into Legends, decided to do their own thing, and then started to pilfer, steal, beg, borrow all of this stuff from, people who wrote better stories than them. Kind of a long story, but there was supposed to be a convention in Dallas, Texas a couple months ago that was all about the expanded universe, the Star Wars expanded universe, now branded as Legends and all of that stuff. It got shit canned. Didn't happen. Not going to happen. Matt Wilkins, who I do a podcast with every month about the Star Wars expanded universe over on his channel. He's like, you know what? Some people have already done hotels and plane tickets and they had to get credit for it, whatever. What if we just do a little like group thing? Anybody that just wants to come, hang out, talk about Star Wars, maybe play some Star Wars board games, do a live stream from there, like a live podcast that we do. Very small thing. And we decided it's going to happen. Expanded Universe fan gathering. I would call it meetup, but fan gathering sounds so much more professional. Twin Sons Foundation, which is a charity, nonprofit charity that raises money and basically gives Star Wars Expanded Universe books to, fills them out in libraries or takes them to Children's Hospital, thing like that. They're a part of this too. They're just helping organize it. Brian Borg over there. But we're going to be there. I'm going to be there in Dallas, actually in Richardson, just outside of Dallas. But that's going to be September 19th. Like 19th, 20th, 21st, something like that. If anybody's interested, you want to go, it's going to be very low key. It's just going to be a little conference room in one of the hotels down there that said, yeah, you can for sure use it. Let people know you're there for a Twin Sons thing, all of that. It's free. We're just hanging out with some people who kind of got screwed over. Fucked over by a bunch of activists who decided to torpedo the Legends Con. So I will be there. That link is in the description. But he wants to go. Like I said, it's going to be pretty niche. Star Wars Expanded Universe fans. I think Star Wars Marvel Purists is probably going to go. So. But I want to let you guys know about that. The Bloody Damn Reaper. I'd say Superman is 1,000 times better than Jurassic World, but that's not saying much. Like I said, I think the movie is better than Jurassic World Rebirth because Jurassic World Rebirth almost doesn't even attempt to be a movie. But I enjoyed Jurassic World Rebirth more than I enjoyed Superman because my expectations for those genres are different. It's like like watching a Final Destination movie, right? Like your expectations going into that are completely different than if you're going in to watch, say, some, very slow-paced psychological thriller type of movie. You have different expectations for different genres and different things that you're watching. At least that's how my brain works. Ryan, you should remove the wooden RK sign closer to the corner so it isn't blocked by the mic stand and more centered. Just suggestion. Well, thanks, Justin. The problem is it's already on the wall. And the problem is, this is so delicate that if I move it, it's probably going to go fucking deflate like an old man's dick. So we're going to leave it here for now. But thank you, Justin, for the suggestion. Hamilton Burger. Remember, for 27 months, think about movies. Is there ultimately for the purpose of entertainment? And what a given viewer likes or not is inherently subjective. The thing about movies is, Bo Briscoe, member for a month. What's up, nerd? What's up, Bo? What's up, man? ASDF for £5. The usual. A, it's doing great. What a success. B, it is slowing down. C, what happened to the Superman success? Yeah, it'll be the usual circle. Maybe. Emilio with 10 gifted memberships. And Emilio gifted memberships right as I hit the end of Sports Wars, I think, this morning. I hope you saw that in chat, Emilio. I was like, we just ended right when you sent them. But then 10 gifted memberships here as well. Thank you to the man, Emilio. That's $50. Peter Karen for 43 months. This is not a movie you want to go see multiple times, and it needed to be that. There's a lot of people seemingly that are seeing it like, I just went for my 5th showing. It's like, whoa, holy shit. Clearly not enough. Mike Hill for 5. Pedro posted on Instagram a picture of him and Superman together. Hashtag super fantastic. There you go. X-Wing is a stupid name for 5. I love Cavill's Superman, but also, to be fair, that era of Superman set the Superman IP back like 10 years because most audiences hated him. I think that's a lot of cope. The idea that this movie that came out 12 years ago that, you know, again, is making more than this one is, that one, well, that's the reason. Like, that's what we're going to get. If this movie is a success, it's going to be like, people like this so much more than Henry Cavill's Superman. And if it fails, people will say, well, to be fair, Henry Cavill really ruined Superman. That's why this one was like that. You can't have these things like this. It was 12. Man of Steel was 12 fucking years ago. And ultimately, this is a fresh start, a new take. It's been marketed as that. It's been everywhere. Everybody knows this movie is coming out. Every single person knows it's a completely different person, a completely different tone, and all of these things. And it right now, it's not standing on its own. Steel leg of history. I can never thank you for always being there for us. I meant to send you a display a while ago. With my health, I wasn't able to, and now I can this week. Oh, that would be really cool, Steel leg of history. I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're doing okay now, man. Take care of yourself, Steel leg. But I mean, I would appreciate it. That'd be really cool. Hope you're doing good, bud. Keep grinding away on your channel. Mike Zero's source. I heard Disney's pushing hard for Star Wars character Deacon Your Mouth. They might be pushing hard for another Mara Jade rumor. Can you believe another Mara Jade rumor? Is it possible? Of course it is. Angst Kitten for 5. Do you think the competition with other big movies could have hurt Superman at the box office, especially in terms of available IMAX? I think that, look, there's a couple countries where Jurassic World Rebirth's second weekend handily beat Superman's opening weekend. There's a couple countries around the world internationally where that's happening. Jurassic World, pretty big franchise. We're gonna see how how Fantastic Four affects it, but like F1 is getting a lot of very good play internationally. Jurassic World Rebirth getting a lot of very good play internationally. Those certainly can contribute. People have things that they would rather watch. But it's a crowded July. They made a lot of money on IMAX. They made a good chunk of their money on IMAX. Not as much as the Batman, not as much as other things like this, but they made like, what, $30 million or something on IMAX screens this weekend, which is a big number. The Jughead. Good evening, Ryan. Just seen Superman. Wow. What a mess. There's no need for a DC reboot. All they had to do is give us Man of Steel sequel with Henry Cavill and a solo Batman with Ben Affleck. I agree. Unfortunately, like, that time is like so far past gone. Like, that's not even just this movie. Like, that is the fucking Wonder Woman 84 and Harley Quinn and the Fantabulous Emancipation, or Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and Black Adam and The Flash and Blue. Like, it's so many movies removed away from where we crossed that threshold where that could have happened. You know what I mean? At least in my mind. The Jughead. Love and respect from the UK, brother. Thank you, Jughead. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, shit. My nullet fell off for Argentinian 200. With all the attention the trailer had, 28 years later, came out with no glory. And I hated how they ruined the lore with the rage virus. God fucking damn it. Bro, the 28 years later has basically fallen off. And they already have a sequel coming, so it's not even like it's already done, it's already in the works, it's coming out in January, but it did not perform well. And I think the reason being it wasn't as advertised. It was marketed great. The movie was not what was marketed. And I think it was, well shot and well acted. I just don't like the things that they chose to focus on and what they decided to make the story about. And regardless of whether you walked out of the theater and you liked 28 years later, it was a different movie than you thought you were walking into, whether you liked it or not. And I think that really hurt it. Great marketing, but it did not match the movie. Mass crossover. What's crazy, I don't think enough people talk about the big takeover that anime and K-drama and Hollywood losing, like me. Yeah, I don't talk about anime and K-drama. I don't know anything about it. I don't watch it. Alvy Key for 5. I feel like no one is talking about how stupid the plot of this movie was. It happened extraordinarily fast. And I do think that one of the problems is essentially one of the key points of the movie, which is Superman's intervention in military action. We don't see that. We just hear people talking about it. And we walk into the movie like if this was a season of television, like that would have been something that would have been set up maybe at the end of like the first episode of that season. And we get thrown in like episode 2 or 3 when he's starting to first deal with the ramifications of that. It's very weird. Like the pacing of it and how crammed it is. Based retard. Pedro Pascal turned his brother trans. If you know, you know. I don't know if he did, but his brother is trans. Maximus for 199. Are you retarded? Thanks, Maximus. Raylo Normie. I get the whole Superman isn't woke take, but he was a bitch the whole movie. That's as liberal as it gets for me. Well, the reason the whole like Superman is woke storyline, I feel like got a little out of hand. But the reason it was happening is because of the interviews that were going around and discussions before the movie came out about, well, Superman is an immigrant. That's what it is. It's we're showing the story, an immigrant story, and blah blah blah, and like all these things. That's where the talking points came from. I do think it got blown out of proportion by a lot of kind of mainstream, like conservative news sites. To me, just because something is or is not woke doesn't necessarily, oh, that's fucking bad or that's good, like just because of that or that. There's a lot more that goes into it. But I do think that a lot of people do want to know if that's the case. For me, when I watched it, you really don't get that. Like you really don't get that type of stuff. And the small little things that you could point to, and there's a lot of people that want to draw a parallel because, well, I hate Israel, so that must be Israel. Like, I think that people are way fucking stretching that shit, personally. But the things that you could try to make an argument for, well, that being a stand-in for this and that being them trying to push this message, it's also fucking shallow, like the rest of the movie, that it's kind of completely inconsequential. You know? Raging Rhino. Superman defeated a cancel campaign and had an Uno reverse card to play on Lex. Got him canceled instead. That's the movie. Yeah. I I think that the movie would have been helped. I said this before. If we had had 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning of seeing Superman before he intervenes in Baravia, before he does these things, right? If we had seen 10 or 15 minutes of peak Superman, 3 years in, the entire world loves him. Everybody loves Superman. Everybody respects Superman. Everybody knows he's always going to do the right thing. Just give us a little bit of that. Maybe a little montage of this shit, like whatever, of some of his cool saves. And he's just completely in control. Everybody respects him. Everybody loves him. Leading up to then his intervention in that war that really sparks off a lot of controversy, that gets people talking about that. Lex starts his little fucking social media campaign. And then Hammer Bravia shows up and you see him, like, you know, kind of getting his ass kicked before having to come back. I think that seeing that would have, for me, it would have drastically helped the movie, because you're getting like a snippet of this, and we all have it in our head who, like, what we think the world looks to Superman as in this universe, but we never get to see it. We only see he's only presented to us after he has been brought down a peg and people are a little upset and irritated with him, and the Justice Gang is irritated with him. And I just show me, if you're going to do that, and I'm fine with you doing that in principle. I'm actually fine with a lot of the ideas presented in this movie. I'm totally cool with a Superman set in 2025 in which Lex Luthor decides to use a disinformation campaign. I don't know if you need to go far as fucking monkeys in a pocket universe type, and that was stupid. But the idea and principle of him using fake bullshit to try to put pressure on Superman and turn public perception against him, I'm totally fine with that. It seems like something Lex Luthor would absolutely fucking do in 2025. Like, I'm okay with some of these principles, but I do feel like we need to have seen Superman before you bring him down like that. McCawk with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, McCawk. Barack Obama deep throating that rainbow dildo. Thanks, McCawk. Base retard. Superman wasn't Jewish enough for Ben Shapiro. Well, he was created by 2 Jews, I believe. I can't say that I watched Ben Shapiro's review of Superman. I don't particularly care what he thinks about too many movies. Is Superman circumcised? Batman is. Batman is. We got to get to a happy topic. Well, potentially a happy topic. Maybe. Ryan, have you seen the trailer for Red Sonja? I have not, Angst Kitten. I have not seen it. I am not really. I don't know too much about Red Sonja, period. I just don't. I've heard people say they really didn't like the trailer, but I don't know enough to, like, particularly, like, care too much, I guess. If it's super hyper mega cringe, then I mean maybe that could be funny. But let's talk about a different female. Let's talk about a different female. Speaking of tops being absurdly big. Here we go. With the news that Denis Villeneuve is taking over the Bond franchise, that after Amazon spent all that money to get the people in control of the Bond franchise away, and who knows what they're going to do with it? Are they going to turn into like a content mill? Is there going to be a Bond cinematic universe? There are a lot of ways that Amazon being in total complete control of Bond could go drastically wrong. But I do think Denis Villeneuve being the director of the next one, for me, I think that's a massive win for them, and it makes me a little bit excited about what they can do. But they have to get the casting right. They got to nail the casting of Bond, and got to bring back Bond girls, of course, because that's something everybody misses. There's nothing as good as sitting down to watch a James Bond movie and seeing a hot Bond girl. And apparently, according to reports, there's a chance that Sydney Sweeney could very well be one of those Bond girls in the near future. Licensed to Thrill, massive American film star, becomes favorite to be next Bond girl as she is pals with new 007 director. The U.S. star Sydney Sweeney also has the backing of Jeff Bezos, boss of Amazon, which has creative control. Now, the reason they're talking about Jeff Bezos and Amazon is because I think she was there at his wedding, and I think he's involved in some new like lingerie line that she's launching, whatever. So there is a connection there. But specifically, this report is about Denis Villeneuve wanting her as a Bond girl. Sydney Sweeney could be taking on one of the biggest roles in Hollywood, the next Bond girl. The 27-year-old actress, who's known for her part in Euphoria and Madam Web, come on, is reportedly the top pick for the upcoming James Bond movie. Now, I'm going to say this right now. This is The Sun, which is kind of like tabloid shit, right? I'm a little bit skeptical of the report itself because, honestly, I think that they're going to focus on the script and everything like that before they cast Bond, and then certainly a Bond girl, right? I think Bond is probably the most important thing to them. Bond girls will probably come after. So it'd be strange to me if there was this much interest in this person to play a Bond girl right away before you even cast Bond. But that being said, there's a lot of people who would have no problems at all with this and would love the idea of this casting. The information comes from The Sun on Sunday, which says that director Denis Villeneuve is eyeing Sydney for the role. He's the new man in charge of the 007 series and was officially named director just last month. Amazon, which now has control of the Bond films, is also said to be supporting the idea, including Jeff Bezos himself. A source told The Sun, Sydney is the top name on the casting sheet for Bond. Denis believes she is hugely talented. Hugely, huh? Denis believes that Sydney Sweeney is hugely talented. Interesting phrasing. As well as having an alluring appeal to younger generations. Vital in modernizing the franchise. It's not just about looks either. The insider also said they've hung out together a lot. Really? Denis Villeneuve and Sydney Sweeney have hung out a lot? I do know that there was like some pictures of them, like her and Denis talking with Ana de Armas and stuff like that, who was a Bond girl. So a little connection there. They've hung out together a lot. He's admired her stratospheric rise. Plus, Sydney has the quality of being athletic and able to perform physical scenes, as well as being feminine and following in the legacy of the Bond girls. Like I think there's a lot of people that would be very excited and very on board with the idea of Sydney Sweeney being cast as a Bond girl in a Bond movie that brings it back to basics. We don't need James Bond hung up on his ex. We don't need James Bond, feeling sorry for all the shit. We don't need that, okay? We do need a hot girl for him to get close to and seduce in the movie. That can be Sydney Sweeney. It certainly can. I have a hard time believing like the validity of the story in general based on the fact that it's so quick and that they don't have a script and that they don't even have Bond cast and all this stuff. The Bond girl, important, but it would be a little bit surprising to me if this was truly, they were like, hey, we're going to go get her right now for a movie that we're going to make like 2 or 3 years from now. Maybe. We'll see. A lot of people would be very excited, and Denis Villeneuve would win over a lot of people by bringing the hugely talented Sydney Sweeney onto Bond. And also, don't make Bond black. If you do that, Denny, low bar right now. Sydney Sweeney and no black Bond. Don't say that, Jerry. I like your profile picture, though. I do like your profile picture. Excuse me. Had like a weird in between, like a hiccup and a burp thing that was like stuck right there. Shooty Gatwa? Oh my god. Don't give these people ideas like that. Shooty Gatwa's not black gay Doctor Who anymore. I guess he could be black gay James Bond. Epic Mike. Epic Mike is a Bond girl? I don't know about that. We don't need plus size Bond girls, all right? Mike Zero's source. Clee Torres is in the Red Sonja remake. There you go. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer. I just don't know anything about Red Sonja. Drink alcohol like a man. I drank alcohol last night, Boris. I was a little tired this morning. East Coast Toasty Boy for 2. Wish we could get Cavill Bond. I think that Henry Cavill would make an excellent Bond. Unfortunately, I've thought it for 10 years. And after 10 years goes by, you start to age out of the point. I mean, what is Cavill right now? 45 or something? He's only 42. I think they're probably going to want to start with somebody for this new iteration, somebody younger, late 20s, early 30s. But I look, if you come out and tell me Denis Villeneuve is doing a James Bond movie and he casts Henry Cavill, I would have such a fucking heart on this desk would flip over. All right. I would love that. I just don't think there's much hope in that happening. I just don't think there's much hope in that happening. Heard Ryan, I'm not British. Shouldn't be me. Shouldn't be me. Jake Stanley. I just got out of Superman, and that shit was the most mid movie ever. Anything cool is immediately overshadowed by bullshit. Weird choices, man. I don't know if I would say anything cool overshadowed. I would say that anything for me, some of the moments that I did truly like, whether it was a reveal or an possible emotional moment, or something where I really liked the way the conversation was going, those are things for me that felt like they were immediately undercut by something else, that is James Gunn's style. I just I don't like it with these characters. Just don't like it with these characters. Yes, he would. I very much agree with that. Richard Madden, I believe. Richard Madden, is that his name? How old is he? He's like late 30s. Uh, 39. It's pretty spot on. I really like Richard Madden. He's in a couple series that people really do not like that much, but I like him a lot. I like him a lot. Richard Madden is KOTOR Revan. Ooh, that'd be cool. Henry, gay for Hunter for 5. Let's see. I'm sure people pointed out the numbers you used when comparing for Man of Steel and Superman were wrong. Man of Steel did include Thursday, and Superman didn't. Flip those around. The numbers used in comparing Man of Steel and Superman were wrong. Man of Steel did include Thursday, and Superman didn't. If you're saying that I am right and that I corrected everyone, then that super chat is accurate. But I just went through here and showed you every little thing about it and showed you why exactly the $116 million opening number for Man of Steel is just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not including Thursday previews, and why the $122, $123 million number is including Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Thursday previews and the Tuesday previews. So I am correct. You're more than willing to send me more money, so I can continue to tell you that I'm correct. But saying calculators are free. Well, luckily I don't even need a calculator because that math is so easy. Like when you include all the Thursday numbers for Man of Steel, that number is 128 million. Compared to Superman's, when you include all the previews, 122 or 123 million, whether you're listening to Warner Brothers reporting or the trades reporting. It's pretty basic. Pretty basic. Thoughts on Duster? Good show. Sad about the canceling. I heard that Duster was shit. Like, I personally heard that Duster was shit. I hadn't had a chance to watch it. I did hear that it was canceled. Josh, was the guy's name Josh Holloway, the actor for it? Josh Holloway, the guy who was in Lost, I think that's his name, who played Sawyer in Lost. I like him in a lot of shit, but a lot of his stuff gets canceled really quickly. But yeah, I can't be sad about it. I never watched it. I didn't hear it was good though. I agree with chat. Clee Torres should be in the next Bond film. I don't think we need a Bond. A Bond film doesn't need to show clitoris. All right. Bond film doesn't need to show clit. Doesn't need to show actual like nudity. Just need some sexy characters though. Showing a little skin, stuff like that, but shouldn't have nudity in a Bond film. Shouldn't have nudity there. What would Sydney Sweeney's Bond girl name be? That's the question. That's the question. It can't be clitoris. It can't be that. Yes, only nudity in the opening credits. Thank you, Ray Lenori. And only like weird shadows of women like that. That's the only thing. Yes. Big Stacks McGee. Jugs a Poppin'. Melons McGee. Double D. Double D, that would actually be good. Bitsy Boobs a lot. Tits McGee. Bustina Lucy. Foodie McBoob. Misty Melons. Pedro Pascal is Bond, Lady Bond as his brother. Oh, his fucking transgender brother who's now trying to be his sister as a Bond girl. Please no. Please no. Fantastic Four is coming though. Fantastic Four is coming right around the corner. See if I can find my. Here it is. Found it. All right. And one of the actresses is speaking out a little bit about some of the backlash she received. I have not. I've heard it was out. Gary texted me. No shit. Gary texted me right before this fucking stream. At 5:29, so 1 minute before I was supposed to go live, Gary texted me, Always Sunny is back. I have not seen it yet. So I will be watching the newest season of Always Sunny in Philadelphia as soon as I can. I love that fucking show. It has some ups and downs, like in general, and they make fun of a lot of shit and a lot of different people. But I love the show and I love those characters. So I can't wait for season 18. Is it season 18? For the love of God, skip the first episode? No, I'm going to watch every single episode. I'm going to watch every single episode. Using your numbers, Henry gave for Hunter 122 is not including Thursday. Henry, I don't know if you're just like, if you're literally just trolling me or if you're actually like maybe did have a problem understanding it. So we can get into it. I still have it up. These are relatively simple things to understand. This is Superman, which released this week. 122 million domestic box office as of right now, which means, right, because they're including what their projections are for Sunday. This is telling you that every single cent that Superman has made up through and including their estimates for today is 122 million. So that means the Tuesday previews, the Thursday previews, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Between the around $3 million in Amazon screenings combined with the previews on Thursday, they took in $22.5 million. As you can see, up to that point for the preview date, Thursday preview, they took in $22 million. As you can see, that number gets combined with the pure Friday number, which is why this number goes up to 56 million and total gross goes to 56 million. Because the previews, the way that they count the previews nowadays, and that's how they can say, well, opening day, including Thursday previews, was this. It was huge. When in reality, this opening day is somewhere closer to that, $32 million range, $32 million pure Friday. But with those numbers and those numbers, you're still a running tally of 56 million. That's including Thursday and Friday. Saturday, 37.7, 93. And then Sunday's numbers, 28.2 up to 122. These are the numbers for Tuesday and Thursday previews, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it absolutely is including Thursday. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I appreciate the money. I do appreciate the money. Whether it's just a troll or you genuinely think I made a mistake. Now, I will say this. I am not destroyed all shows. Enough with the box office numbers already. Destroyed all choice. Calm the fuck down. Talking about Superman box office. It's a huge thing. It's a character that's been around for 100 fucking years that a lot of people are invested in one way or the other. We're going to be talking about it for a long fucking time. Guess what? I'm going to be talking about it next week and probably the week after that. So stay tuned. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. Oh, I will say, look, I can certainly make mistakes. I've made mistakes before. I can, miss something or, not read something or miss a little bit here. However, in general, I would say there's a few and far between. I'm usually right when it comes to like that stuff. I'm not saying that my opinions about every single movie are right and the only way to view something. I'm just saying when it comes to that stuff, I'm usually right. I'm not talking about predictions. I'm just talking about looking at this and telling you what that is. But I can make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes. Sorry, John Gets Gaming. Sorry, Ryan. Still not convinced about those Superman numbers. Maybe ask Grok about it. Yes, I'll ask Grok, and it'll probably tell me. It'll probably tell me that I don't know, the Jews are taking over the world or something. Is that what Grok will tell me at this point in time? Mike Zero Source Dixie Wrecked would be another great name in regards to Sweeney. That is a good one. That's a good one, Mike Zero Source. Dixie Wrecked. That's Sydney Sweeney's name in Bond. But the movie that is going to challenge 2 weeks from now, Superman's run at the box office. This is not how it works, NetStealer, and that's why I literally just explained to you that 22.5 million is included in that overall 56 million. They include previews in the opening day number. That's why it says P and then it says 1, and that's why the total gross, the running tally, says 56. NetStealer. I literally explained it for you. So I said, yeah, I'm sure the new guy. Yes, I only fucking was in charge of calibrating reactor protection equipment and nuclear detectors, nuclear instruments, things like that for years and years. I have a tough time with math sometimes. I have a tough time with math. All right, let's talk about Fantastic Four. Let's talk about Fantastic Four. With Superman's debut at the box office, we only have a few weeks before the next superhero movie of the summer and the next big release in July. And that is, of course, the Fantastic Four. The last chance for Marvel to really get a win this year, unless you count Wonder Man, the Wonder Man series that I'm sure everybody is so excited for. But between Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World and the disappointment that was Daredevil Born Again and the disaster that was Ironheart, this is it. And there's a lot riding on the Fantastic Four for Marvel. People are wondering how it's going to stack up in the box office, going up against these other big movies in July. And now we're hearing from one of the actresses involved who's been at the center of some significant backlash for the movie. And she's speaking out about that said backlash. Fantastic Four, Julia Garner responds to female Silver Surfer backlash. And Julia Garner, the only thing I'm super familiar with her from is in Ozark. And I actually really liked her character in Ozark. I liked her as an actress in that. I thought she was really solid. And I'm sure she could play whatever role fine. However, it was the idea in principle. It wasn't the casting of Julia Garner. It was the idea in principle that Marvel would decide to use the female Silver Surfer instead of the Silver Surfer that everybody fucking knows, Norrin Radd. And yes, we understand that in a handful of pages and a handful of comics throughout decades and decades and decades, there is an iteration of a female Silver Surfer. But that's not the one that anyone thinks of when they hear about Silver Surfer. That's the one that Marvel decided to use. And of course, there was significant backlash. And for the design, the way it looked, especially in those first couple trailers, a lot of criticism. Well, now she's finally speaking out about it. Julia Garner responds to backlash over female Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four. I'm just still going to do my job. Julia Garner's finally addressed the mixed reactions from fans after it was announced she'd be playing a female version of Silver Surfer in Marvel's upcoming film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps. The casting sparked online debate, with some fans celebrating the choice and others upset the character's gender had been changed. When asked about her initial reaction to the role, Garner said she actually had two. The first one was, I'm still going to do my job. And also, it's Shalabal, so it's different. And then the second one, I was just happy that people are resonating with it like any other project. So I'm just grateful to be at this dance, to be completely honest with you, Garner said. And I think that, look, in a world in Hollywood where so often we have people ask, well, what do you think about the backlash to this? Well, they just all hate women and they're all racist. That's not a response. Just like, hey, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I got hired to do this role. I'm going to play the part. But then they're throwing in, and it's Shalabal, so it's different. The funniest part about this entire thing is even Julia Garner's response when she was asked to play female Silver Surfer. Do you remember what her response was, her initial reaction? Wait, isn't the Silver Surfer a man? Yes, because everybody knows that. And the idea that you are, again, you do have in a handful of comics, in these like alternate worlds, in a handful of pages, you have female Silver Surfer Shalabal. Completely insignificant to the thousands and thousands and thousands of stories referring to Norrin Radd. Yet that's the one that Marvel decided to play or to use for this movie. That's the one that Marvel decided to use, and we probably know why. And if you've heard some of the leaks surrounding it, and big girl power team up maybe at the end could be in the works, who knows? We're yet to see if those leaks end up being true. But there is a significant amount of backlash for this in general. And it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays, how this plays for Marvel at the box office. We're seeing Superman's box office results, not exactly overwhelming return for Superman at the box office. Fantastic Four is up next. And this leads directly into Doomsday, right? Like, this is the setup. This is the only real setup we have for Avengers Doomsday because it was such a last-minute change. There's a lot riding on this movie. These characters are supposed to be very important for Marvel in the future. And, I'm completely fine with Julia Garner's response. Like, hey, I'm still just going to do my job. Yes, I know a lot of people are upset about this, not lashing out at fans, not doing anything like that. Just say, hey, I'm just going to do my job. And it's just an honor to be here. It's an honor to be part of the dance. Fairly good response when we've seen a lot of other people in the MCU and in Star Wars and things like that often lash out at the fans surrounding some understandable backlash. Dr. Fauci's pardoned prison butt. He's lucky. First, it was the Force Awakens defenders, and now the Man of Steel haters are getting their comeuppance. Adjust for inflation, Man of Steel made $938 million. It did. And I do think adjusting for inflation is certainly valid. And I think that inflation versus ticket prices, like all these things have a little bit of a, it's not exactly one-to-one inflation because ticket prices haven't exactly stayed the same as inflation. There's been differences. Theaters are different now. Sometimes they're charging more than what you would normally even expect. So I think a really good way to look at it, if you want to talk about, is something resonating with people? Is this franchise, is there less interest in this franchise? Is tickets sold? I wish that they reported those consistently. They often don't. I believe that opening, one of the numbers I saw, and I don't want to say 100% it was this, I just saw it in passing, but it's probably fairly close, that opening weekend, Man of Steel, 14 million tickets sold opening weekend, Superman 2025, 11 million tickets, something in that area. And it probably makes sense based on what we're seeing. Chris Coran for 2. Just explain how the Thing grows a beard, please. I don't know. I do know is that I do know that he has a beard in some of the comics. Like there are a couple comics where he has the beard, but I don't I don't know. Like, does he shave? Does the Thing shave? I don't know. External Glory for 5. Picked up the Fantastic Four #1 comic based on the movie. It's all about the aesthetic gimmick. Gets old quick. Betting the movie is the same. For Fantastic Four, I was more. Let's put it this way. You guys know how I felt about Superman during the marketing. There was nothing that really like made me really care or really get excited or anything like that. But I'm more invested in the character of Superman in general than I am in the Fantastic Four. I like that they did a kind of quasi period piece, right? In a different Earth, but like a futuristic retro 60s type of thing, Like I like that idea in principle. And I think that could be a really good thing and an interesting way to show the Fantastic Four and make it feel more like the Fantastic Four did in the comic books. But there's Galactus looks fucking awesome. I'll just be honest. Galactic looks fucking awesome. I wish the outfit that we've seen very little, but I do wish it was a little bit more brighter instead of the kind of the muted tones they tend to go for. I like that they went all in and like made their suits like super bright blue and like all this shit. Some things that I like about the aesthetics of what they're deciding to do, but in terms of the story itself, there's nothing that has me excited about Fantastic Four. And I don't not particularly invested in it. Does the Thing have pubes? That's a good question. That's a good question. Jens, member for 50 months. That's over 4 years, you crazy son of a bitch. Thank you. Thank you, Jens. John Gets Gaming 5. It's usually the media making controversy. The guy who always asks, is this the gayest, was talking all about MAG on the Superman red carpet. Now, and I think Mark Malkin knows exactly what he's doing and exactly what will get clicks and stuff like that. I don't know how much of that stuff actually harmed this movie because, look, it's the international that it really fucking sucks, right? If all that had a huge impact, we might be seeing even worse American numbers or domestic numbers than we are. It's the international people that are just not interested in any fucking way. And this is all after you decide to forego truth, justice, and the American way for a more globalized type of message. And that global audience said, I'm not interested, which is interesting, at least to me. Justin Martins for 5. I wonder if any of the actors could have a lawsuit against Disney for damages of their career for setting them up for failure. Be hard to prove. No, Justin, they could not. They're paying them. They're paying them. So I don't think so. Galactus in Rise of Silver Surfer was trash. Whoever said that. Fucking awful, bro. Did they like not have the rights to show Galactus or something? Let me look. Why was Galactus a cloud? Reason for the change, stylistic choice, build suspense instead of a spinoff, visual effects limitation. Like, to me, there has to be something like where they didn't have the rights, maybe, because I just can't imagine them not wanting to show that. Got like a splitting headache all of a sudden. Oof. Blackadder, not I, for 5 pounds. Do Ryan's pubes only cover 1/5 of his balls? Maybe. Depends if I usually I keep it fairly clean down there, you know? Usually it's fairly clean. At Grok, is that true? Yeah, at Grok, does Ryan really keep his balls well trimmed? At Grok, is this true? Shaved R for Robin. Ryan, what kind of water is that? It's fucking water, like water from my fridge that is in a bottle. It's nothing special. Just normal. Normal water. Do I have a skincare regimen? Yeah, when I take a shower, I wash all my skin. I don't know. Fridge water? Yeah, I drink a lot of fucking water. I'm not gonna waste it. I always have some bottled water in there if I really just need to like grab something and go on the or whatever. But I mean, I drink a decent amount of water. I probably drink. Let me think. I probably drink somewhere between 3/4 of a gallon and a gallon of water a day ish. You saw me on Tyrone Magnus twice this week. Really? That's cool. I had heard that he had reacted to like maybe a me and Jay video on Daily or something like that. Maybe it's a tumor. Maybe it could be. To knock on Ryan, does anyone else see a resemblance to Beavis? I hear that all the time, Mike Zero Source. I hear that all the time. I think it's the size of my forehead. I did see Drinker's video. He said the Ryan Kinelosaurus. He did say that. He did say that. Ryan Soulier for 5. In Superman Returns, they say Gotham. DC should have started the cinematic universe there. Keep it in the 80s theme and build upon the OG Superman. I watched Superman Returns the other day, and you know, I certainly have some criticism, and there's parts that take too long to happen, and I think the ending is stretched out a little much. I don't mean the ending like the Kryptonite Island sequence, but after that. But I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed it. Brandon Routh's Superman probably only says like fucking 30 lines in the whole movie or something insane like that. But I'm not saying it's great or anything, but I liked it more than the last time I watched it. I can say that. Tyrone said your intro music sounded black. It is. It is fucking black. I thought it sounded fucking sick. I've had the same intro music since I started my damn channel. I found it on some royalty-free thing. It was like called Trap, like free trap music 10, or it was something weird like that. I went through a bunch of different things because I just wanted a little hook, and that was what I found. Royalty free, baby. Royalty free. It is black as shit, though. And every time, about once a video, there'll be somebody that's like, I fucking hate your intro music. And I just think, good. Good. I mean, it's like a very cheap thing. But I'm glad I got the street cred from Tyrone Magnus. I'll have to check out and see. I don't even know what videos he's reacting to or whatever. I could react to the reaction. Way better than the daily music. People hate that shit for some reason. People hate that daily shit. Here you can see the intro. This used to be the intro. It has the same music, I think, but watch this. That used to be what it looked like. That was then somebody else actually made that little logo animation, because I just did that in some cheap, like free fucking software thing that I found when I first started my channel. We are coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on the 6-year anniversary of this channel. 6 fucking years we've been doing this somehow, some way. It's kind of crazy. Should we do a, let's see. Should we do a special? It would have been like August 1st, basically. I guess we could just do August 3rd would be that celebration. A 24-hour stream, fuck that. Maybe a 6-hour stream. 24? You're crazy, bro. You're crazy. Yeah, I can't do 24 hours, man. Can't do 24, but we'll do some kind of, maybe we'll do just a drinking stream. Maybe after Friday Night Tights. I don't know. I'll be really fucking tired after FNT. We could do one on Saturday, maybe. Maybe we could do it on Saturday. We'll figure it out. I want to do something because I don't think I remembered the 5-year. So we'll do something to celebrate. Something. But I think those are the major things I had to talk about in this one. And I suddenly have like a shockingly sharp headache, and I don't really know why. Could have guests. I used to do a lot of guests all the time. It's just easier with me now. I'm with people on all these other streams, right? Fucking on daily, I've always got either Jay or somebody else there. Friday Night Tights, we've got 8 million people there. So sometimes I just like to do my own thing. It's all the math. That's right, Net Stealer. All the math I did gave me a fucking headache. Mike Zero Source, to any software developers in chat, I have an idea for a game. ICE. The goal is to round up illegals. I guarantee you there's some like ICE simulator out there. Blackadder, not I. The second one came across as more Eminem. Either way, I've never radicalized YouTube introduction music before. Chris Stuckman has to be white bread. Thank you, Blackadder, not I. The second one that drop is a lot louder, and then it comes down for some reason. I don't know if it's a different portion of the song. The song is like a 3 or 4 minute track, you know what I mean? That I just clipped out the little part that I liked. I used to have this thing that I did at the end of my videos was like a 30-second thing, and I realized nobody was sitting there and watching it. Nobody was watching through that, so I just fucking said I removed it, because it was like decreasing. It looked like people weren't tuning in for as much as my videos, like a percentage of my videos, because they weren't. They're like, why am I going to listen to this guy fucking ramble for 45 seconds about nothing? So I just ended up removing that shit. Taker for 5. The DOJ just dropped charges against Dr. Kirk Moore, and holy crap, is this guy a Jay doppelganger? Look him up and tell it's not Jay in 10 years. Dr. Kirk Moore. So the picture that popped up does somewhat resemble him. A lot of the other pictures really don't. But I mean, the first one that popped up was this one. And it really made me laugh because there is some similarities there. But like some of these other ones, like that doesn't really look like Jay. Maybe that kind of does. Without his hair. I don't think that's him. I don't think that's him either. But the first thing I saw was this, and there is like some element of that does look like a slightly older Jay. A slightly older Jay. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny, Taker. All right. Refresh. Make sure I'm all caught up, everyone. I don't want to miss anything. I don't like when I miss shit. But I think I'm good. Good on there. Good on there. And thank you to the Facebook people for watching as well. I see Brune over there. He's live on Facebook. Yep. And Keith is there as well. So is Michael. Jay's dad, maybe. I don't actually know how old Jay is. I don't know if that guy's old enough to be his dad. Well, all right, guys, thank you very much again for the people that would be possibly interested in hanging out with a group of other Star Wars Expanded Universe fans. We've got a little meetup that's going on in the Dallas area. You can check the Eventbrite down there. We're doing it in conjunction with Twin Sons Foundation, the nonprofit charity. It's just going to be a couple days of chilling and hanging out, maybe playing some Star Wars board games, stuff like that, and talking about the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Maybe a chance to take part in a delivery that Twin Sons is doing at one of the local hospitals, giving some Star Wars books to kids. Make sure they're the good ones. We're not going to give a bunch of sick kids dog shit books. We're going to make sure they're the good ones and stuff like that. And I know that's appealing probably to very few people in the chat, but if you want to, if you're interested, go check it out. The Eventbrite link is in the description below. And everything else as well. You want some merch, you can go to rkoutpost.com. You want a PC, go to MetaPC, use code RKOutpost. Link is also in the description for those things. And that's all, folks. Who should we raid? Let's see what we got going on. We ain't just going to waste 1,000 people. We ain't just going to send you to the nether realm. Oh, Veridark's streaming. Vera always pops up first on here. It's weird how that works. Let me refresh this side. And let me click on that. Let me click on that. And let me hit redirect. Search for videos. Yeah, we'll send you there. And it should be good to go. All right. Thank you guys very much. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. I got to play that outro music. We talked so much about it. The old style.